Hello and welcome to Ati's Conflict Studio, where we try to manage conflicts because we know not all conflicts are to be resolved. Let's start today's episode with a scenario. 20 years ago, Jackie's sister read her private journal and shared its most sensitive content with the entire extended family, right in the middle of a heated holiday argument. The damage was instant and lasting. Jackie moved out the next week and hasn't spoken to her sister ever since. Even now, decades later, the memory still stings. It lives just under the surface. Every birthday, every family gathering she skips, it bubbles back up. One day, scrolling through old photos, she feels her heart race. She alienated me from the whole family, she thinks. How could I ever forgive her? Does forgiveness mean excusing what her sister did? Does it mean welcoming her back into her life? Or is it about reclaiming her own peace? In today's episode, we are talking about forgiveness. Specifically, why forgiveness isn't about excusing bad behavior or reconciling with the person who hurt you. The emotional and physical costs of holding on to resentment, and how forgiveness can be a powerful tool even when no apology or reparation is ever offered. Before we dive deeper into this topic, I wanted to make one thing clear. I'm not a mental health professional and I'm not trained in that field. I'm a lawyer, a mediator, and a certified organizational ombuds. My work focuses on conflict, how we navigate it, and how we hear each other. So, I approach this topic from a mediation standpoint, bringing people to the table, helping them process what's happened, and figuring out a path forward. This is more in the realm of conflict coaching, and that's where my expertise lies. So, let's get into it. Forgiveness isn't approval, to be clear. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you're saying what they did was okay or that you ever have to have a relationship with them again. Forgiveness is not exoneration. It's a conscious choice to stop carrying the burden of resentment for your own well-being. It means taking control and not letting the wrongdoing hurt you over and over again. Take this workplace example. David and Rachel work in the same department. David takes full credit for an idea that Rachel proposed in a team meeting. Rachel is furious, and rightfully so. But weeks go by and David never acknowledges it. Eventually, Rachel realizes that her anger is spilling into other parts of her work, even her personal life. She decides to forgive, not because it's noble to turn the other cheek or because David deserves it, but because she does. She needs the emotional space back. Forgiveness isn't always a bridge, but is always a boundary. You can forgive someone and still choose to never collaborate with them again. For example, when you are blamed unfairly. Imagine you are a middle manager. Your team recently let someone go. A decision made far above your pay grade. But the former employee or even your own peers blame you. You became the face of a decision you didn't make. Or maybe you work in customer service and someone is yelling at you for something you didn't do. You're just a messenger, but you become the target. In these situations, you carry emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. Forgiveness here means letting go of what isn't yours to hold. That might look like acknowledging your own emotional reaction without internalizing the blame, setting limits on how much energy you give to other people's projections, releasing resentment without seeking validation from the other person. You don't need someone to admit they were wrong in order to reclaim your peace. It's crucial to shift the lens and ask, how will forgiveness serve the person doing the forgiving? Not whether the wrongdoer deserves it, but whether it serves the one who has been hurt. Let's look at this issue from another angle. What happens when you have been deeply wronged? Let's look into the life of Emma, a devoted and loving spouse. Emma is married to a man who struggles with alcoholism, and as she later learns, he has also been unfaithful. For 10 years, Emma believed in their marriage. She wanted to have children but kept putting that dream on hold, believing it was worth sacrificing for the man she loved. She worked full-time, paid most of the bills, and carried the emotional and financial weight of their life together. Her husband had lost his job and she took over everything, working both at home and outside to keep things going. She constantly worried about his well-being, protected him, and tried to understand his moods. But then, 10 years later, Emma discovers that her husband had been living a parallel life, a relationship with another woman, a whole other version of himself. The version he gave to Emma? Angry, withdrawn, distant. The version he gave to someone else? Loving, caring, and present. As you can imagine, Emma is devastated. She starts therapy. She questions everything, every decision she ever made. Why didn't I see it? Why wasn't I smart enough to protect myself? Why did I give up so much? My dreams, my time, my peace for someone who was never fully there for me. And now comes the question, how could he ever be forgiven? How could Emma possibly extend forgiveness to someone who stole the most important years of her life? Take a moment and really think about it. What would you say if Emma were your friend? Sitting across from you, holding back tears, asking if she'll ever feel whole again. Would you tell her to just get over it? Or would you want her stop carrying the pain of someone else's choices? To stop letting his betrayal shape her future? Here is where we have to shift the lens. When we focus too much on the wrongdoer, what they did, why they did it, whether they deserve forgiveness, we get stuck. Reliving and reanalyzing trauma often keeps us in the pain, not out of it. Forgiveness isn't about excusing him or taking him back. It's not about giving him a pass or erase what happened. It's about not letting him hurt her again through the memories, the spirals, the revisiting of those horrific days. It's about protecting Emma. It's about making sure the damage stops now. Forgiveness in this sense isn't about justice. It's about self-preservation. It's not having a case of double jeopardy. She doesn't have to relive the sentence over and over. So, with this shift in approach, the real question becomes, what helps Emma heal? Because she's already paid a high cost. Forgiveness isn't something he earns, it's something she chooses for herself. Let's look at this from a different angle. The physical cost of holding on to resentment doesn't just live in your head. There is growing research connecting chronic stress, resentment, and physical health problems. One study, for example, shows that people who struggle with forgiveness report higher levels of chronic back pain. Also, there's research highlighting that forgiveness can reduce blood pressure and lower your risk of heart disease. Long-term anger can compromise our immune system, making us more susceptible to illnesses. Our bodies hold on to emotional pain. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our physical health is to release the grudge we've been nursing. Forgiveness, in that sense, is a wellness practice. Now, let's look into how we can practice forgiveness, especially when we haven't received reparation or even an apology or acknowledgement. Now, let's get practical. If you are carrying something right now, here is a 4-step approach that I often suggest. 1. Acknowledge your feelings. You don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. Give yourself space to feel anger, sadness, or disappointment. But try to name what you're feeling, because it's hard to solve a problem when we don't know exactly what it is. As they say, a problem well defined is a problem half solved. Step 2. Clarify your boundaries. What kind of distance or limit do you need in place to protect yourself moving forward? That clarity, knowing your boundaries, creates peace of mind, which makes the next steps even easier. Step 3. Let go of the story. That doesn't mean forgetting. It means not retelling the narrative over and over in your mind or to others. It doesn't mean shutting down or avoiding what happened. It's okay, even healthy, to talk about it, to vent, to process, to identify patterns, and to find a solution. Talk it through with a mental health professional or a trusted confidant. But beyond a certain point, revisiting those facts stops being helpful and starts becoming reliving. And that keeps us stuck. Step 4. Reframe forgiveness as a gift to yourself. This isn't about them. It's about you choosing freedom over rumination. Don't let the wrongdoing hurt you more than once. I hope you find this approach helpful. And if you like to dig deeper, I want to share 2 books that I always come back to in my work on apology and forgiveness. The first book is Forgive for Good by Dr. Fred Luskin. The second book is Apology, Forgiveness, and Reconciliation by Professor Peter Robinson, who was also my former academic advisor at Pepperdine Law School. Thank you for tuning in to Ati's Conflict Studio. I hope today's conversation on forgiveness gave you something to think about, or maybe even something to let go of. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.